Hey, this is Eric Sloef at the VMworld 2016. I'm at the Solutions Exchange and we're at the VMware booth. And I'm joined by Matt Lydy. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
I'm fine. So we're at the booth for VVOLS. VVOLS is a technique which can be used to, you tell it to me.
So virtual volumes, really what it does at the end of the day is it gives you the ability to kind of, for the first time, leverage all the capabilities of your array, your storage array. We're not using virtual SAN, we're using just your array-based technology. What it does essentially is it exposes your array capabilities up to vCenter for the first time. So we're essentially offloading all those storage commands that vCenter used to do down to the array and letting the array do what the array does best. Things like snapshots get offloaded from vCenter and down to the array, so snapshots are instantaneous, and deleting snapshots happen instantly instead of having to go through that old committal process. Things like cloning operations, if you need to clone a VM instead of doing the traditional clone, in vCenter, everything looks the same. You're still going to clone a VM, but it offloads that command down to the array and leverages that native capability that the array possesses.
So to understand correctly, do I have to create a VMFS on a virtual volumes data store or storage array?
No, there is no more VMFS file system with VVOLS. It uses its own native file system on the array. And the beauty behind that is for the first time, the storage administrator and the vSphere administrator can actually see the same thing. They can see it from two different perspectives. So if you have a machine that's going crazy, the storage administrator can actually look down at that individual spot on the array and figure out what's going on and apply troubleshooting techniques there, as well as your vCenter administrator being able to do the same thing from his end as well.
So what you're saying is that the storage administrator is creating a container without VMFS, and the storage administrator exposes the capabilities of the storage array, and then vCenter picks up those capabilities. Those capabilities are transformed into a policy, and the policy can be configured on an individual machine.
Yeah, it can actually be configured on an individual disk basis, so you can actually have multiple policies per VMDK file. So it's kind of the push from VMware is to go to the storage policy-based management. You know, just like Virtual SAN uses, VVOLS uses that same technology. And it could be a case where you're running Virtual SAN and VVOLS side by side, and you choose a particular storage policy. Both of those devices, or both of those storage policies may fit. So you may be able to place a VM on VVOLS or Virtual SAN, depending on the particular policy you've chosen. And the beauty of it is you can run traditional VMFS file system, traditional LUNs, VVOLS, and Virtual SAN together. It's simply a storage vMotion to move from one device to another. It's the beauty and flexibility that you can kind of plop that in today and test it right away without any disruption to your environment.
Yeah, but the big difference between VMFS, VVOLS and vSAN is that vSAN and VVOLS allows you to configure policies on individual objects, or instead of set a policy on a complete data store and create a situation where you have a noisy neighbor that's affecting performance of other machines.
Absolutely, yes, it's down to the virtual disk level, which is something that you couldn't really do with a traditional VMFS LUN. Now you can actually go in there and configure a disk. For example, if you had a SQL server and you want to put your operating system on a slower tier disk, your transaction logs maybe on a higher tier disk, and then your database on a more highly reliable disk, you can strategically place those using storage policies.
So, if we look at vRealize automation, where you are offering a catalog to your end users, is it also possible to expose those policies to an end user, so an end user is capable of selecting the right storage for his workload?
Absolutely, that's why we want to go with the storage policy-based management. It allows you to simply place objects where they need to go without having to think about it. That's kind of the beauty of it, and that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get rid of that need to call the storage administrator and say, hey, place this workload here. Now you just click a few buttons, define the policies, and it automatically goes where it needs to go on the array or on Virtual SAN without any intervention from the administrator.
So if I have a use case for a transaction system, and we're nearing Christmas and the transactions are going higher and higher, and the policy is only n+1, and I want to do some SSD caching, or I want to add some extra striping to the machine, can I change this on the fly without migrating the machine to another part of the storage array?
Absolutely, it's simply going in there and choosing another policy for that particular disk, and the array will take care of placing that workload on the appropriate spot on the array.
So what are the new features since the 6.5 release?
That I don't know, because I haven't seen them yet.
We already saw some features that more and more VMware products are actually supporting VVOLS.
Yes, I think probably one of the biggest things that we've got now is SRM support for VVOLS. That has been the biggest kind of missing component, and we can do that now. We can use SRM with VVOLS, so that's probably the biggest, most exciting thing from my perspective.
Matt, many thanks for this interview. I learned a lot about VVOLS. I hope you enjoyed this VM World. And back to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciated the opportunity to talk to you.
More than welcome.